Imagine that you could stop time, not just figuratively, but literally. Snap your fingers and everything stops.
The first thing that I'd like to do.
You now finally have time to finish that project that you started 3 years ago, to write that book, to hang out with your family, to just take some time for you and actually relax, to do something that you love. But instead, you just end up messing around on your phone. What if you're just too tired and scattered to focus on anything worthwhile? Well, then all that time that you just flush it down the toilet. On one hand, time is a very fixed thing. You only have 60 minutes in an hour and only so many things you can do with that hour. You could go for a walk, you could get some work done, and you could mess around on your phone, play some video games, talk to somebody, like whatever you choose to do. But in another sense, time is fluid, and what we get out of it really depends on 3 factors. First, how are you spending it? Are you doing something meaningful, something pleasurable, something useful? If you're going for a walk, maybe you're building your endurance a little bit. If you're working out, you're building it a lot more. If you're taking a trip or doing something new and exciting, you might be building a memory, building new experiences, pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone and therefore growing. But it also goes the opposite way. But if you're just sitting around on your phone looking at airbrushed pictures of the best moments of other people's lives, that doesn't add anything to your life and most likely kind of make you depressed. The second factor is how much energy do you have? If you're feeling on fleek, as the kids say, or happy, energetic, whatever it is, then you can get a lot of stuff done. You can grind out a bunch of stuff on your business. You can get a good workout. You can spend some quality time with some friends and family. But if you're just drained and feeling out of it, you're probably not gonna get much done. You can force yourself to do some things, but it won't be that enjoyable. It'll just feel like it drags on forever. And for me, generally, I can only do that for so long before I am just dead and end up on the couch like watching movies or YouTube or something. The third factor is how mindful are you being? Like if you have an hour and you're not being mindful at all, maybe you're just on your phone, you're watching TV, you're driving, doing anything, and you're not really paying attention, that hour will feel like it just flies by and you probably won't even remember it. You could be walking on the most beautiful beach, doing the most amazing things, but if you're not really paying attention, you're all up in your head, your focus is all over the place, you're really missing out on that experience. Often, for me anyways, I feel like that time is just slipping through my hands. Now, while we can't actually stop time or change the fact that our time is somewhat limited, there are ways to get a lot more out of it and make it actually feel like it's slowing down and you have more time to do the things that are important to you. And this is where we learn from some plants. Picture your life as a garden. In your life, you have a limited space in your garden. Maybe you have room for like 5 different plants, and those plants are gonna be things that you really wanna do. You have your career, you have your relationships, maybe a hobby or 2, different ways that you can spend your time. The problem is that we only have so much water to water those plants, and that water is your time, energy, and attention. So how do you manage how you water things and what you focus on? That's really gonna come down to resource management. Like if you say this plant right here is your career, and you just water that plant and nothing else, which is what a lot of us do. I used to do this, where you just work, and yes, you will get better at your career, but maybe all these other plants should have been that tall. The heck is that? Maybe these 2 plants over here, and mostly just that far one. We have to be careful what we allow into our garden, because if we have 20 different things and we're trying to spread our water over all of them, most of them will never grow to where they should be. For me, I just really focused on maybe a career, and then health, maybe a little bit relationships, and then I didn't have any hobby, I didn't have any other great relationships, I didn't have time to travel, I didn't have focus to enjoy other activities, and that was because of how I was allocating my resources. To stick with this analogy a little bit longer, you also have to be worried about weeds coming in, because there's so many things that people ask us to do that end up sucking our time, energy, and attention from those things that do actually matter. This could be somebody you don't really like, but you still have a relationship for some reason because you don't want to be rude and you don't know how to end it. This could be saying yes to certain things that now it's a year later and you're still doing the same thing every single week, whether that's for work or personal. It's reading a crappy book. If it's a bad book, you don't have to finish it. That's something that was really liberating for me, where I used to just think because I started something, I have to finish it. Where if you started something and it turns out you really don't like it, you don't have to finish it. It's okay. Realizing that you have a finite amount of those things and being very cautious of how you're using them can be a really freeing realization. I'd like to take a minute to thank the sponsor of this video, Cuts Clothing. As you guys know, I am wearing nothing but Cuts right now. This is Cuts, this is Cut, and this is Cuts. On our trip here to Aruba, I packed nothing but Cuts because I know they're gonna fit really well. They're really high quality. Everything I own matches with everything else. They also have a women's line they just started. Meredith has some of those. I just like being able to have something that I know I'm gonna feel good in, that's actually long enough for my body, that fits like it's built for an actual person, and I can feel comfortable in because this is, you know, my style. If you guys wanna check them out, you can use the link down in the description. Consider your ROI. When we think of ROI, we often think about it in a money aspect, but we also have to think about our time in the same way. Almost every action that we take has some type of ROI. Like if you're out going for a walk, then you could be building up your endurance a little bit. It's not gonna be all that much, but I could make this a little bit of a better ROI by also maybe listening to an audiobook. But I could also just scroll through my phone right now and it would almost have a negative or neutral ROI because I'm not really gaining anything out of it and I'm missing out on all the stuff around me. This is where it can be super helpful to actually take some time and look at the different areas in your life and ask, what is my ROI in these main categories? Is this adding anything to the long-term effects of my life? Is it positive? Is it negative? For me, when I looked at the time we were spending watching movies and TV shows and binge watching shows, they had no ROI on my life. I did this a couple weeks ago and I realized that just a few things led to most of the results and had the best ROI, and a lot of other things, especially in my work life, didn't add all that much and were kind of just busy things that I was doing. I was checking email all the time, being on my phone all the time, making things harder than they needed to be. So that's where I started to set some firm deadlines to make things happen a lot quicker, and trying to find things that I can cut out of my life that don't really add all that much, so I can spend more of my time hanging out with family, experiencing new things, building new things, creating new things. So just take a minute with whatever you're doing a few times a day and ask, is this adding anything to my life long term? And if it's not, how can I get rid of it? So what are some ways that we can practically enjoy our lives? A couple simple things we can do before I get to those couple questions that kind of change your mindset are just doing simple things like when you're eating, instead of being on your phone, actually think about and enjoy each bite as you're eating it. This can completely change your experience. Even drinking coffee. I can either drink a cup of coffee and not even notice that it's gone, or I can actually enjoy it and think about the flavors and really be present. And it is a completely different, memorable experience as opposed to just looking down and it's gone. We can also schedule in more me time. This is something that most people don't have in their schedules, is time just to sit and be still. Maybe it's to go outside for a walk without your phone. Maybe it's taking 30 seconds every morning to do some breathing. Maybe it's scheduling time for a massage or a bath. Just things we don't normally do to actually slow down and focus on us and being calm and present, and not just continually letting things spiral so that we're always in need of a break, but actually scheduling those breaks in. Something that's really helped me actually do that is building morning and evening routines so that I schedule in that time by waking up a little bit earlier, take care of myself, and not just go into the day and things start getting crazy out of hand right away, but actually taking time to focus and slow down right from the get-go. And that helps your whole day be a lot more productive and honestly just like calm. So the questions that I've been asking myself like a couple times a day for the past week have been, what if I am never here again? Like, what if this is the last time that I see this place, whether that's at your house, whether it's going for a walk, whether it's at the beach. We're on vacation right now. As I'm looking around, actually thinking about, this is the last time I will ever see this place in my entire life. Whether that's true or not doesn't really matter. And when you think about that, how you perceive everything around you changes. You notice the smells, you notice the feels, you see these people around you that you're probably never gonna see again. You see the trees, you just see the world around you a little bit differently when you think about, I may never see this again, which is true. You could get hit by a bus, you could never come back here, you could move, like anything could happen, you could go blind. But just thinking that a few times will really change your experience when you're out and about. I've also been doing this with my daughter recently, where I think about, she's never gonna be this age again. I'm never gonna have this day back. I'm never gonna have this moment back, whether that's with your family, your kids, your partner. You're never gonna have this day, this moment back. And if you're not present for it now, you're not gonna remember it. So just being present for these moments makes them slow down, makes them way more enjoyable. And I don't know, it just kind of changes your whole mindset. If you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next week.